up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is my okra and tomatoes with shrimp and sausage recipe. So I started off by cutting up one large onion. I like a lot of onions. My grandmother, when she taught me, she told me to cut up a small onion, but I like to cut up a large onion because I love onions. Not fresh onions though, but it's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I start off by cutting up this large onion. I always peel that first outer layer away because it has that silky stuff on it. So I didn't like that. So I threw that away. And I just diced my onion up into small pieces. You can keep yours in the long slivers if you want, just however you prefer your onions to be cut up.
Show me where to go. I'll give it everything I got. I'll give it everything I got. Everything I got. Yeah, I know the people think I'm talking, but I don't play when it comes to you. I do anything when it comes to your name. I make you a priority, 'cause that's how you do, man. Everything I got, and it's about it, Lord. You can ask me, Lord, that's what you made me for. So if you show me where to go, I give you everything I got. I'll give it everything I got, everything I got. Lord, if you show me, yeah, show me where to go, I'll give you everything I got. I'll give.
So right here, I added 1/4 of a cup of oil to my Dutch oven, or the pot that I cooked my my stew in. I use canola oil. You can use anything from like grapeseed oil, peanut oil, coconut oil, whatever oil you prefer. Just use 1/4 of a cup of that, and I turn my stove on medium-high heat and let that heat up just a little bit. Once my oil heated up, I went ahead and added my onion to the pot. It took me a minute to get all of those little diced onion pieces off of my mat. But I went ahead and added those to the pot. And don't worry, my hands are clean. I washed my hands. I love a lot of garlic. So I did add 3 big tablespoons of garlic. It was probably a little bit more than 3 tablespoons because they were like big, huge, heaping tablespoons of garlic. But I love garlic. It adds a really nice flavor. So once you get your onions and garlic in your pot, you're gonna want to mix that up and just let those saute a little bit. Be careful not to burn your ingredients because garlic does burn very easily. So you want to make sure you're constantly stirring and getting those ingredients moving in the pot. And you're just gonna cook that until the onions are a little bit tender.
Just call my name and I'll come running. And everything you tell me to do, I'll do. You tell me to go, I'll go. So if you tell me, I'll give it everything I got. I'll give it everything I got, everything I got. And Lord, if you show me where to go.
So now that your onions and your garlic have been cooked and they're a little bit tender, then we're gonna move on to the next step. So in this next step, I put in a can of Rotel and then a can of crushed tomatoes. I like to use the Rotel because it does have those bell peppers and those chilies and stuff in there. As far as the crushed tomatoes, you can either dice you up a fresh tomato, like 2 fresh tomatoes, or you can just use the can of crushed tomatoes. I prefer to do it the quick way and use the crushed tomatoes because I'm lazy. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add our seasonings in, just so they can kind of start cooking into your stew. I added a tablespoon of black pepper. Then I went in with a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning. I would recommend to use low sodium. I didn't have any more low sodium Old Bay seasoning left. But you can always add a little bit more Old Bay if you prefer to have more. So you're gonna mix that up, and then next you're gonna add your salt. You can use whatever salt you prefer, the iodized salt, sea salt. Me personally, I use the pink Himalayan rock salt, and I use my little grinder to grind that up into the pot. I've been on this whole low sodium diet because I do have blood pressure problems, so I've been trying to use healthier options and not cook with so much sodium, but you can use whatever you prefer.
Show me something new. Yeah, you watched me up and made me something brand new. I know ain't nothing like
Those are just three simple seasonings. Once you get those added in, you're gonna add in a bag of cut okra, cut frozen okra. You just dump that over into the pot. You're gonna mix that up pretty well.
everything I got. I'll give it everything I got, everything I got. And Lord, if you show me where to go. I'll give it everything I got. I'll give it everything I got, everything I got. Yeah, I know the people think I'm talking about.
After I added my okra, I did take my Rotel and my crushed tomato cans, fill them up with hot water, and added that water into the pot just so we can get a little bit more liquid in the pot. And then I took and cut up some sausage off camera, and I added those sausage to the pot. Once you get those added, you want to mix those in and let your pot come up to a simmer. Cover it and let it cook for about 15 minutes so it can cook the sausage, and just get that going in the pot.
Yeah, show me where to go. I'll give you everything I got. I'll give it everything I got.
All right, so now my pot is simmering. My sausage are cooked, and I'm just gonna go in right now, just kind of mix that up. I did take a plastic spoon and I tasted my broth just to kind of make sure my flavors were good. And I think you'll see that here in just a moment. It looks so good, and it smells so good, y'all. So right here, I did taste my broth, and it didn't have enough salt for me. So I added a little bit more salt. I didn't have time to try to grind any more salt up in there, so I just took some of my iodized salt, or sea salt, I can't remember which one it was, and salted the broth a little bit more. Some of my sea salt, yeah. And I believe I added just a tad bit more of Old Bay seasoning.
Ever since the day that you came in my life, my heart ain't been the same, 'cause you came and you took it, came and fixed it. Yeah, you took my heart and you made it happy. Show me something new. touched me up and made me something brand new. I know ain't nothing like ya. Nothing on this living earth can keep me from ya. Just call my name and I'll come running. And everything you tell me to do, I'll do. You tell me to go, I'll go.
Now, once all of my seasonings are added and I'm satisfied with the flavor, I did go in and add, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I did add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and it doesn't make it sweet or anything. It marries those flavors some sort of way. This is my grandmother's recipe, so I just follow her recipe. I tweaked it a little bit for me, but I did add 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I did peel and devein some colossal shrimp. Somehow that footage got lost, but you can see the shrimp in the pot right here. I'm not sure how I lost that footage. But yeah, your shrimp and sausage, okra and tomatoes is pretty much done now. You want to make sure you don't overcook your shrimp. So typically what I would do is turn my pot off once I add my shrimp and just let those cook. And I made some rice and I poured this over rice and got me some saltine crackers. And there you go.
If you ask me, I'll give you everything I got. If you lead me, I will follow. I'll give you everything I got.